Hello, everyone. It's Liz, one of Derry Public Library's resident film experts or film nerds, and definitely the resident expert of weird and cult cinema. I'm here to talk today not about film recommendations, but about something that's been happening in the film world recently that kind of came to my attention and I think everybody's attention. Everyone had an opinion on it. The AMC Universal sort of feud. So if you don't have any background on it, well, obviously we're all staying at home because of a pandemic, meaning a lot of places where people would gather in public and enclosed spaces like movie theaters are not open right now. So studios have dealt with it in a number of different ways. A lot of the really big tentpole films, they've just gotten pushed back for a later release date. Like Wonder Woman, Black Widow, Fast and the Furious got pushed back a year. James Bond got pushed back to November. And who knows, based on how this goes, may get pushed back again. Other films, smaller movies, have gone the VOD route, and children's films, they just put on streaming services early. The big issue with this was NBC Universal or Universal, the film version, put their film Trolls World Tour for on demand and made a ton of money. I believe they made about $100 million in 1 week, and that was all on demand. And so once that happened, Jeff Shell suggested that, well, maybe the studio might do simultaneous releases of its movies, both in theaters and on demand, even when theaters reopen. So, said that, and AMC, which is the biggest theater chain in America, was not happy. And they even said, well, if you do that, we're just not going to show Universal films in general at all. Meaning, goodbye Jurassic Park movies. No big loss there, honestly. If I can just give my own personal opinion, as far as I'm concerned, Jurassic Park is a series. It's a one and done. I don't acknowledge the sequels. But also, goodbye to the Fast and Furious movies, which are a huge cash cow, not just in the United States, but abroad. There's that. The Fast and the Furious series, one of the most successful worldwide. So there were a lot of people who saw that as Universal, not Universal, but AMC being incredibly petty and taking what could be a huge financial hit in the future. Um, so this has led to a larger talk about what's the future of theaters if we have to social distance, if we have to, if we can't go. Well, thankfully, some of it has been drive-in theaters are opening back up, which I'm excited for. But there's the greater question of maybe studios should just do movies on demand. Disney did that with both Frozen 2 and Onward. Frozen 2 had been out for a while, but Onward had only been out for a few weeks. And Disney just said, well, we'll put it on Disney Plus. I believe they're releasing Artemis Fowl as well instead of going the theatrical route. In some cases, it may just be a better cost saving measure. The romantic comedy The Lovebirds, featuring Issa Rae and Kumail Nanjiani, that was supposed to get a theatrical release in April. That is going to be on Netflix later this month. So Universal's not the only one doing this, but my personal opinion as someone who used to go to the movie at least once a week and is kind of sad I can't now. Kind of an understatement. My partner and we love going to movies. We love taking other people. But people have been ringing the death knell for theaters for a long time. People rang the death knell for theaters when television came about. And I'm not sure that we can say right now that, okay, that's it, theaters are done, everyone's just going to be VOD. Especially when, and this is, I actually think, the best take on the whole Universal AMC thing. I think both Universal AMC are jumping the gun a little early at this. Because but anyway, the National Association of Theater Owners, their response was this, which I think is pretty on point with what happened. They basically said the success of Trolls World Tour wasn't indicative of a change of preferences. It was indicative of a bunch of people being stuck in the house, especially with children and wanting something new to watch. We don't have kids, but I nannied my way through grad school. Trust me, I know that kids can be hard, and I know that sometimes you just want them to be quiet for 2 hours. And if it takes renting Trolls 2 a few times, I get it. I mean, I'm sure my parents took me to see some pretty bad movies. I know they took me to see some bad movies because it meant, well, they'll be quiet for 90 minutes. So I don't think taking the success of one movie's VOD is exactly the death knell for theaters, especially not Trolls World Tour. I mean, personally, I think that movie's just a conspiracy to keep Justin Timberlake relevant. But I really think that the success of that movie is, as my partner says, they literally had a captive audience. But where are theaters going to go if they can't be at full capacity? They are going to take a financial hit. AMC is currently looking potentially at bankruptcy. And the only theaters that are oddly enough doing well are the ones that we were scared for about 15 years ago, which were the independent theaters. Probably because they have a more loyal base of people who come there. And they've actually jumped on the VOD thing. They basically said, well, we will offer some movies in a virtual screening room. You can rent them. Some of the money goes to us, some of the money goes to the film. And I think that's a really good way to kind of marry the two. I'm not sure AMC could do that. I wonder if there's rights issues with that. But I will say this, if you really love the theatrical experience, as I do, go to a movie when they open. I mean, obviously be safe. So, I mean, the movie theaters that are going to open are going to be drive-ins. Go to a drive-in screening, or right now, go look at your local independent theaters and see if they have a screening room. One of my favorite theaters is the Red River Theater up in Concord. Look at their website. They have movies that you can rent. I recently watched St. Francis. I thought it was a lovely movie. And I was so glad I was able to see a new film and support my local theater rather than just a studio trying to make a franchise. Another great theater, my favorite theater in the world, is the Coolidge Corner Theater in Brookline, Massachusetts. They are doing the same thing, and they're actually providing film seminars now. So if you want new content, I would actually say look at what your independent theaters are doing. And when it is safe to go out, when the theaters open up and they find a way to safely do this, go to a theater. I look, there's some movies I'm like, I'll wait for DVD. I don't feel like I need to see that in the theater, but there are some films that are still made to be seen on a big screen. I am waiting for Christopher Nolan's Tenet, and I'm so mad that that got delayed. And more so than that, there is there is something about a theatrical viewing that it is, even though you are sitting there in the dark, not talking to other people, it is a community activity. You are still experiencing something with other people. I wasn't wild about the Marvel movies, but seeing Endgame in a theater full of fans, that was a fun time. I love Star Wars, obviously. Rise of the Skywalker's not great, but man, seeing that in a theater full of Star Wars fans, it was a blast, and you do not get that at home on the couch. Obviously, right now, we're going to have to make do. But I would say rather than just go, that's it, theater's dead, video on demand forever, I would look at what local theaters are doing. Again, New Hampshire has a few that would be great to support. And start looking into drive-ins again. I love that the retro stuff's coming back. Drive-ins are pretty fun. But yeah, I would say overall, I don't think the whole AMC Universal thing is really indicative of the future. I think Universal's going to back off. I think AMC is going to back off. Because if Trolls is the only movie that made Universal a lot of money at this time, I'm not sure if that's indicative of anything. And I really think it's dumb to say we're just not going to distribute movies by one of the biggest studios in the world. That's not a good business decision. Um, but yeah, my overall message would be don't start burying theaters yet. It's going to take time, but I would say check out your local theater, just like your local library. They provide some great support and great cultural value to your state and to your community. And I will see you tomorrow with Freebie Friday. I hope you were okay with me getting on my soapbox to fight for the theatrical experience, but Again, there's something about a theater that your couch doesn't have. Although your couch does allow you to pause and get ice cream. So, I don't know. I still love the theatrical experience. Have a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow.